Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Athletic School podcast. For one more episode today, we have a guest speaker, John Diggs, who is a former NFL player and nowadays he's a certified love life coach and mind mapping mentor. John, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, Igor, the pleasure is all mine, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And I love to have someone to talk about mind. I think our mind can do so much for us, and we are not even close to get everything we can.
Yeah.
But I'm sure mind mapping it's one of those strategies that can help us a lot. So I would love to just jump right to that. What is mind mapping? How can athletes and people in general benefit from that?
Yeah, well, in short, mind mapping is a visual information management tool, meaning anything a person needs to think about, whether it's making a decision, problem solving, dealing with issues in their past, dealing with goals in their future, anything you have to think about, mind mapping will allow you to visually put that information in a structured way on a piece of paper, rather, so you can actually see all of the key components of whatever you're trying to consider or thinking about. And a lot of people are benefiting from it. You know, a lot of my students and athletes that I work with, student athletes, I'm getting them to visualize and map out like their perfect play, their perfect game, their perfect season, so they can tangibly see all of their goals in one snapshot like that and constantly modify it, then start to visualize what they put on that map a lot easier, because mind maps, the way they are created and connections and all of that kind of stuff, is very similar to how our brain works. So
Mhm.
people that are have been mind mapping for some time are able to recall information better, remember things. They say mind mapping is literally the fastest way to get things in and out of our minds, our brains, because of just visually mapping it out that way. And that's what I'm excited to help a lot of people with. I've been helping a lot of people, especially student athletes. I got
Mhm.
a new book that's coming out called Big Play Power, which shows student athletes how to mind map for peak performance in and out of the classroom and on and off the field. Mind mapping
Awesome.
is truly that powerful, man. It's really a powerful
I'll
tool.
yeah, I'll definitely need to read that. Um, and especially I feel like nowadays, and especially student athletes, we have so much information
Mhm.
that we never know how to use it. Like there's
Right.
that famous quote that says like knowledge is power, but then well, knowledge is power if you use it. If you don't use
Yeah.
it, it's
Uh,
it's not even
Applied
it's
knowledge is power.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that helps a lot, clarifying a little bit.
Mhm.
But how do we do a mind mapping? Is it literally a map? How does it work?
Right. Well, yeah, I use traditionally nowadays an online software for my mind maps, but most people don't even have to do that. You can take a napkin and a pen and draw a central circle right in the middle of it, and that's your main topic of that mind map, whatever that is. Problem, decision, whatever it is, that's the theme of the mind map. Then from there, you just draw like subtopic circles around that. So if I'm looking at a problem, let's say I put the name of the problem in the middle, then around I would put who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's all associated to this problem. So then once I do that, then I'll go over to the who subtopic. Now I just brainstorm that. Who's involved? Who should be involved? Who could be involved? Then I'll go down, once I brainstorm and figure out, go over that, I'll go down to what happened, what caused it, what should have happened, what didn't happen. Then I go down to where, when, and why. So once you go through this process, Igor, you can step back and actually look at your map and see all of the different, like I said, see it in a greater perspective than you otherwise would have. And for athletes, especially football players, I was just talking to a young football player about this the other day. I said, normally in life, it's like playing football and you're looking through the face mask. You're going through the play, but only thing you see is through your face mask, kind of deal. I said, but what mind mapping allows you to do is put yourself in that booth or put yourself up in the sky. So now you're looking down at the entire field of that play versus just that singular perspective coming out of by way of your face mask kind of deal, which naturally you can see things happening before it gets all up on you. You know how to respond to things a lot quicker. You know how to make better decisions on how do I approach certain things, because now you have a greater viewpoint of whatever you're dealing with, is what I'm finding in training and teaching people how to use, especially athletes.
Hmm. That sounds sounds powerful, and I think we forget sometimes to kind of like step out a little bit, look at things in a different point of view. That again brings a lot of clarity, and I think it
Mhm.
helps us, kind of like get out of the situations that we might be having.
Yeah.
Um, but bringing more to a practical way, let's say we have a football. Um,
Hmm.
player or a basketball player, and they are about to,
Hmm.
let's say basketball player, because they're about to start their season now, and they
Hmm.
want to, set goals and, and achieve those goals during the season, how is there a way that mind mapping can help them do that, or is it more something
Absolutely.
that helps them through the process?
Absolutely. This is what I teach specifically is, sitting down with like a basketball player and, what is a perfect game for you? What is that? If you were to have the best game of your life, what does that look like? Tell me that. How many points, how many rebounds, how many, I mean, give me that ideal and what that looks like. So let's start to map that on the map, so we can now start to reverse engineer it to start figuring out what needs to be done now for you to create that. And you took the most powerful step first, and that's identifying what your most biggest play is, which is so funny you mentioned that. Just today, I had a Facebook memory come up of a football play I made at Washington State University. I was a free safety at Washington State University. Go Cougs! And the story is that back when I was a junior in college, a sports psychologist came, and this is again late '80s. And she offered guys to come to her office. I don't think anybody went, but I did go. And she asked me that. She said, "John, what is the biggest, best play you can ever make on a football field?" And I was kind of shocked because I've never had anybody ask me that. I played the game so many times, but as far as one play, if I could make any play, what would that be? So she told me to write it out. I wrote it out. Then I took it to her. She said, "No, it's not detailed enough. Get more detail." So I wrote it down in more detail. Then after I did that, she told me to rest, lay down, close my eyes, take a couple of deep breaths. I'm gonna read and record what you wrote. Then she told me, she said, "All right," it was a cassette tape. Again, this is back in the '80s. She said, "But just listen to this, every night. Let's see what happens." And I swear to you and your audience that that play happened. If I was a senior in football, I was senior free safety, and that play came up on my Facebook page just today, and it just totally just was nostalgic because it reminded me of that, and I posted it to tell people like this was my first introduction to the power of mind mapping. I mean, to the power of imagination on how you can really start to visualize. And they say that, now I don't know if a lot of your audience knows, but Michael Jordan is reporting to say that every night before his game, he would play the whole game in his head, laying in his bed in the hotel room. And it was crystal clear. I mean, he had the squeaks of the shoes, the coolness of the bath. I mean, just the whole, it was real in his mind. So when he made that game winning shot, he would tell people, I made that 1,000 times in my mind. So I knew it was going in, kind of deal. And what I've come to learn is that there's no better tool than mind mapping to actually crystallize and detail that perfect play, that perfect game, that perfect season, that perfect career that
Mhm.
you want to have in whatever sport you play. The most powerful thing you can do is mind map that out so you can get crystal clear on what that will look like, feel like, sound like, taste like, and smell like, living
Mhm.
your goals, being your goals. You need to start visualizing that in your imagination right now,
Mhm.
wherever age and wherever you're at in your life. Start visualizing you being that Hall of Fame defensive back or being that first round draft pick. You really start to need to imagine that right now, and mind mapping can definitely help you do that.
Yeah, and it's crazy how you mentioned Michael Jordan, because I feel like, I've been studying a little bit of the mind, in a way, for a long time now, and I feel like all the great athletes, everyone that achieved something great, they
Hmm.
always use the mind in a deeper
Hmm.
way than an average person. So if
Yeah.
you think about Michael Phelps, he was talking about when he won one of the medals that that he won, one
Hmm.
of the 100 medals that he won. uh, he was talking about how he imagined the water getting through his goggles,
Hmm.
and he still, and that happened during the meet, and he was able
Hmm.
to still win. So
Right.
it's just one of those examples that shows that the mind has a lot of
Powerful.
power. Yeah.
Hmm.
um but I think, my next question for you is, mind mapping, when it comes to mind mapping, is it something that I can do, can I do for the next game that I have, or should
Yep.
I do for the entire season? Is it something that, should I do like in steps by steps,
Yep.
smaller mind mapping, or should I do a big one? How does that work?
I would say mind map whenever you're inspired to do it. If that's a daily thing, which is what I do and have been doing for most power, I would recommend a daily mind mapping practice.
Mhm.
But yeah, you want to just start small and just get into the habit of, anything that comes to your mind. You can put your mother's name in the middle, and just mind map all of the things that you think about with your mother, how much you love her, some experiences you had in the past. Anything and everything you can think about, you can start with that little circle in the middle of your page and just start putting keywords and phrases all around that and start connecting them to the middle, and you'll see the magic in it, because it really kind of opens your perspective up to where
Mhm.
you start to see things differently, and it empowers you so much. And that's my TEDx talk. I did a TEDx talk in January. It's on YouTube, and it talks about this, on how you know um, mind mapping enables you to think, not just think outside of the box, but live outside of the box to what's possible, on the field, off the field, and in your entire life. You have to start visualizing it here first, and start internalizing it for to increase your chances of actually experiencing.
Awesome. And you mentioned a little bit on when you started to kind of realize the power of the mind, right?
Mhm.
But you achieved a lot of great things. You played college football, and then
Mhm.
you went to the NFL. You play in the Canadian League as well. So
Mhm.
those are great achievements. Um,
Mhm.
but is there was there like a specific time that you realized the power of your mind, and I guess, like, how did you use your mind? You mentioned the meeting that you had, but
Mhm.
is when did you come up with mind mapping? Is this something that you have been using it?
Right, right. That's a good question. See, right after my football career ended in '95, I got two screws put in my right knee. It was reconstructed. That ended my football career, and I got into the mortgage industry in Los Angeles. Then built a very powerful mortgage company, living a millionaire lifestyle for sure. But then I lost every single thing in the mortgage meltdown. And when I say everything, it was, family, my wife, my house, my career, everything was gone in the mortgage meltdown, which really, sank me so much that once being an NFL player, once being a top mortgage guy making all this money, now I was humbled and forced to have to go sleep in my mom's couch. And in that, when I went in there, I took this big ass box, literally a big, big box. It was full of all of the books, motivational CDs, and tapes and stuff I collected all the years. Think and Grow Rich, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, all that stuff. And inside that box was this book called Mind Mapping. And somebody gave it to me. I never really read it or anything, but for whatever reason, it resonated with me. And I just came up with the idea of let me mind map everything that was in that big ass box. Then for 3 straight months, again, this is part of my TEDx talk that I did. For 3 straight months, I just mind mapped everything in that box. And that's when I first started realizing, wait a minute, mind mapping, it's allowing me to understand things more than just reading something and underlining or highlighting. Now I'm doing what is called active learning, meaning I'm now reading, looking for key words and key phrases from that book to add to my mind map. So I'm not just going through lines anymore. I'm actually trying to find key words and phrases to put on the map. So I did this for 3 months, man. The 3 months of man, I had like 50, 60 different big poster boards of mind maps all around my mom's house. And she was all freaking out about, look at my house. But by doing that though, bro, what I'm saying is that I started to see not just the connections of that book, and understand the various chapters and how it all related to the message of the author, but I started to see how all of the books and things started to connect. How everyone was pretty much saying the same thing, just in different ways. Everyone was trying to get us to live our best lives and just had their different way of saying it. So that helped me from when I was homeless, like essentially to realize that I can live my best life and love life. But then I evolved into realizing that in order for me to do that, I have to get very clear on who I am first. Who am I and what's most important to me? Which is, if any of your listeners can take away one key thing from this thing, that would be the thing that I would suggest that they do, is create what is known as an I am mind map. That's just a I am healthy, wealthy, successful, and happy. Healthy, wealthy, successful, and happy. And once they drill down, and I got many courses and courses online and all that stuff for that. But once people do that, they get so much clarity on who they are and who they intend to be, that it empowers them to achieve amazing results, because now there's no question about who they are and what they want to do with their life. They know what they do. They know what they want, and they have the boundaries, especially for young student athletes. I've been finding that having this, they have stronger boundaries to know that I don't do drugs. That's not on my map. No, I'm not doing alcohol. I'm not doing all these nonsense, because I'm very clear on who I am now. And I see it every day when I look at my I am mind map on what I need to do to get there. And what you're trying to peer pressure me to do, not going to work. So that's what I really like about it. So I would suggest your guys, your listeners, get an I am mind map as soon as possible, so you can get really clear on your strengths, your weaknesses, your beliefs, your values, your goals, and what you're trying to do with your life.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yesterday I recorded a podcast that came out today, and one of the insights that we had, that we were talking about, about having a clear purpose, right? Because
Yeah.
uh, exactly when those hard time comes, those obstacles and all those things, like some friends come, oh, you should try this drink, or this,
Mm-hmm.
let's just have some fun and go here, go there,
Mm-hmm.
and do this
Mm-hmm.
type of stuff. But when you have a purpose, when you have
Mm-hmm.
a clear mindset and a clear purpose on what you want, uh,
No.
it's a easy no. It's a easy
Yeah.
no. Like it's not
Easy
even
now.
a question. It comes like I got to a point in my life that my friends don't even offer me a drink anymore.
Right.
And like I love that, because like I'm gonna keep saying no. You're gonna keep asking me, so just stop offering me.
Right.
And I think that's because I had a clear purpose in my life,
Yep.
and still kind of trying to keep it clear as possible. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but and I think mind mapping can be the key for some people to make it
Mm-hmm.
even clearer.
Yeah, for you to define who you are versus allowing society and the environment to define who you are, which is what I'm finding, that even adults to this day that I work with and coach, they have never sat down and really declared, this is who I am and this is what my life is about. And they're wondering why their life has been doing all of this stuff, all the time. Where I'm like, well, that's why, because you haven't, you're trying to play a game, but you haven't determined the rules. You know,
Yeah.
you don't even know the boundaries. You don't know where out of bounds is. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
100%. Yeah, I think I read a book this year. I think it was Health Sexy Millionaire or something like that, and he talked exactly about that, like how we think we think success and being rich is one thing because society tells us that that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing, but
Mm-hmm.
we have to come up with our own definition of success, our own definition of
Yeah.
what's being healthy and wealthy and successful, so I think that's
Yeah.
that's a key point. We forget many times, we forget that we have to come up with our own beliefs, our own values, and
Yeah.
question some of the beliefs that society has.
If you want to be happy and truly live your best life, you got to define what that means. What that mean to you? Most
Yeah.
people want to live their best life, but they don't know what it really means.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, I agree. I agree, 100%. Um, Early on, you talk about having an injury, losing everything in 2008 and everything, and I want you to touch base a little bit on the 11 steps framework to achieve transformation success. If you could just go through them a little
Mhm.
bit, and there's maybe one or two that I would to focus on, but if you could just go through them, just kind of like tell us what they are.
Right. As far as define your clear goals, right?
Hmm.
That I mean, that's kind of like what the I am mind map will help. To get very clear on what you want and what you're trying to achieve. You gotta, if you leave your house, you got to know where you're going. You know, if you are you going not going to go anywhere, then again, identifying your strengths and weaknesses. I mean, I think that's your number two, right? Identifying your strengths and weaknesses. Again, that's what the I am mind map clearly does, because it gives you an idea on what you're really good at and what you shouldn't be focused on. Which I like to start there first, is identifying strengths and weaknesses and
Hmm.
our identity, because based on that will determine your true worthwhile goals. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? On what who you are and what you want and what you're good at should reflect in the goals that you set for yourself. And naturally, strategic planning is critical. I mean, as being athletes, having a strategic plan, it's like a game plan. As you guys know, how do you guys expect to win a game if you don't really have a clearly defined game plan or strategy on what you guys are going to do in certain situations throughout the game, or how are you going to approach it, what plays you're going to call at certain downs of distance or a certain time on the clock and all that kind of stuff. So you got to have a strategic plan. Again, that's where mind mapping really helps, because it will enable you to really break down everything to know what you need to do on a daily, which is how far I break down my mind maps for my clients, to show them, once they clearly define their goals, know their strengths and weaknesses, and we go to that strategic plan, that's when we can really work it down to what they should be doing almost every day to help them achieve that goal. And visualizing success, we just talked about the power of imagination. That is super huge. I live by it. I do believe that this is the way we can communicate to God in the universe about what we want. I'm not necessarily sure if God in the universe wants to hear words from us. I think he wants to, feel or see what we are experiencing in our minds. That's why the law of attraction is such a big thing, because once you can visualize that and really be present, living your dream, doing it over and over again, I think that's where the universe responds more to. If crystallizing and visualizing your goals, and mind mapping definitely can help you get really clear with all of the modalities with that. Mindful preparation, almost everything that I do, every day, I'm on my mind map or somewhat kind of way to make sure that, I'm focused and clear on what, my goal is and what I need to do, and my strengths. Some of the things I need to highlight as an athlete is big. I would assume that, you're getting your mind right, knowing that, hey, I have to protect this, or I have to be ready for that, and because I've clearly defined it and can see it from every perspective. Progress tracking, again, that's another beauty of the mind map. That first I am mind map that I created was back in 2010. I still use that I am mind map, but it has evolved and changed maybe 1,000 times over the last 10 years. Because as I grow and as I learn more, as I change, which we all do, you need to go back and revisit this. I wasn't the same person in 22 as I was in 23, and I'm not going to be the same person in 2024 as I was this year. So I'm always dynamically enhancing my mind map to make sure that, I'm evolving with it and tracking with it, which also leads right into that adaptability. You have to be adaptable. I say this and teach this to so many people that flexibility is power. And that's not just physical flexibility. It's also mental flexibility. You have to be willing to, you can't stay stuck on a negative thought. You can't stay stuck, on a challenging perspective. You have to be malleable and shift that. Same thing with emotions. You have to be flexible with your emotions. You have to be flexible. Flexibility is truly powerful. And the more open you are to being flexible and changing, the more success you're going to have. I mean, just imagine as an athlete, you're not adaptable or flexible, and you call a play that you know is not going to work. You have to be flexible and call it audible, right? You got to call an audible, to put yourself in a better position for that play. That's a part of flexibility, is audibles, guys. I mean, that's really what an audible is showing you flexible. Yeah, we call this in a huddle, but now we have to be flexible and change based on what we see. Performance analysis, you got to always track and see how well you're doing, not from a point of beating yourself up, not from a point of putting yourself down, but from a point of learning and growing. Being a football player, if you make a bad play in the first quarter, you can't hold on to that in the fourth quarter. Come on, you know what I mean? If you give up a touchdown or something or drop a ball, and you have to learn from that. Okay, I'm going to adapt and get better and analyze what I need to do the next time to have a greater result. Holistic well-being, I mean, that's mind-body connection. That's a big thing that I teach with a lot of my student athletes with mind mapping. Is not just that performance component, but also the other areas of their life that does affect with their performance. Like, what is your sleep quality? Let's mind map your sleep quality. Do you have a sleep routine or rituals that you have in your life now that prepares your mind and your body and your spirit for a good night rest? Or you just collapse in bed and all that kind of stuff? Same thing with waking up, like pregame stuff, guys. Athletes, you got a pregame ritual to get yourself to perform at a high level. You have to have this in all other areas of your life as well, not just with playing sports. You need to pregame to go to sleep. You need to pregame before you go to a class. You need to pregame before you take a test. You need to pregame all of these stuff. You need to come up with your pregame strategies or rituals to make sure you're going to, perform at a high level. Holistic team collaboration, that's a big one. I'm on number 10. Huge. The mind mapping software that I use, I promote a lot of team collaboration because we can share the same mind map, and I have a lot of students working on the same, like, game, for instance. Hey, we got to game this thing. These are all of the key components that the coaches are calling out. Now let's get everybody else on the team to chime in and get your viewpoints as far as the qualities and strength of this player that you're about to go against. Who's this opponent? What are your concerns? What do you think we should do in certain situations? And have everybody looking at the same mind map. Collaboration, team, TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. Then continuous improvement. I mean, you have to. One of my mentors said, "There's no staying the same. There's never staying the same. We're either growing or we're dying. There's nobody stays the same." So you always have to be improving yourself. Tony Robbins calls it CANI, CANI. Constant and never-ending improvement is what we should always be looking to do in every aspects of our lives. Especially, when you clarify that I am mind map, you can see all of the key components of your life to know things that you should be doing to get better at, to spend, to have greater results in, kind of deal. So I love the success achievement formula framework that you have here. It's very powerful because it does encompass all of the things. And I'm happy to say that, yeah, mind mapping, is it could be a very powerful tool for every single one of them. could really 10x everything that, however you're using it now. If you're just writing it out or bullet pointing it, try mind mapping, man. I guarantee you're going to find a lot greater results uh,
Yeah.
just with
Uh,
using
hun-
that tool.
yeah, 100%. I would like to go back a little bit on the performance analysis because I feel like a lot of, especially for athletes, sometimes we are in the process and
Hmm.
we're just not having the performance we want,
Hmm.
and you mentioned about not beating yourself up. But is there any advice you would have for the athletes that they are doing the mind mapping, they are doing everything
Hmm.
correct, but sometimes the results just doesn't come
Right.
the way they want it. So, is there any advice you could give to them so they don't keep beating themselves up?
Yeah, I would say, for one, be patient with yourself.
Hmm.
Two, understand that, yeah, you're not always going to win. You're not going to make every. Michael Jordan didn't win every game. Michael Jordan had more missed shots than he had made shots. You think about baseball players now. I mean, guys are getting paid gazillions of dollars for having a 200, a 250 or a 300 batting average. People never really
Hmm.
understands what that means. If you have a 300 batting average, you're like one of the best players in the game. But what that really means is that he's missing 7 out of 10 times. He's
Hmm.
failing 7 out of 10 times. So if you,
More than
so I
six.
mean, so then I just noticed yesterday watching football, and this is good for your athletes to remember, is that the first thing a Tom Brady or a Patrick Mahomes or all of these guys do when they make a mistake, they go to the sideline. And if you watch them on the sideline, they're not beating themselves up. Guess what they do? They grab that little tablet and try to learn from what just happened. What just
Hmm.
happened? They grab it, they're on that little Surface thing, and they're that little Microsoft Surface, and they're analyzing, all right, what happened? How did I make this mistake? They're not beating themselves up. You don't gain anything for beating yourself up, because that was, again, guys, a play in the first quarter. If you're beating yourself up for a play that you made in the first quarter, you're not going to make any in the fourth quarter. And I think that would be silly, right? Most people would think of you as being really kind of silly if you're
Hmm.
in the fourth quarter still stressing on some play that happened in the first quarter. Really? Come on.
100%.
You,
Yeah.
you have to learn from it. You have to keep growing. And it's unfortunate, so many people in our lives, as we grow older, they will spend their whole life not getting over something that happened in the first quarter, and it
Hmm.
affects their playmaking ability today, because they're afraid of dropping the ball again, and are afraid of, not coming through and all of this stuff. So they fell in and live their life. And these people, 50, 60 years old,
Hmm.
still can't get over a drop ball that they made in high school. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
don't make any sense. So you always have to analyze it from a place of growth and understanding and learning. Again, Michael Jordan, it took him how many years before he won his first championship? They said he used to cry all the time when Detroit used to beat him, and he was in there just crying, mad because he lost. But he was learning from it. What can I learn? How can I improve my game? How can I get better so I can have win the championship and have
Yeah.
a greater result next time? Hope that
100%.
helps.
Yeah, I think we often say that we shouldn't live in the past, that we should forget about the past, but I think we think about the past like a month ago, a year ago, but like we what we talked in the first minute of the podcast is already in the past, right? So
Yeah.
like when it comes to a game, first quarter is in the past. First down is in the past if you are in the fourth down. So it's
Hmm.
you are always. I think we have to understand that the past is like 1 second ago. It's already in the past, right?
Hmm.
So we can keep moving on and, like you mentioned, progressing.
Yeah,
Um,
and one keynote that I think is very valuable for your athletes is, just because you drop the touchdown pass in the first quarter does not mean you cannot make the touchdown winning catch
yeah,
to end the game. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So So just because you made a mistake before doesn't mean that you can't, be the hero to win the whole thing later. But
Yeah,
you won't be the hero to win the whole thing later if you're still worried about what happened in the
yeah,
first quarter.
100%. And I think we have enough stories to prove that as well. We can
Absolutely.
go back and we can find a bunch.
Just
Um,
last weekend, just yesterday's football game has a whole bunch of that. Guys
yeah,
dropping the ball but come back and win the game.
yeah,
It's always
100%.
possible to change your circumstances, so don't beat yourself up. Learn from it, get better from it, and be the winner that you're born to be.
Of course. John, to finish up, to wrap it up, I like to ask a question that I always ask the all the guest speakers that we have, uh,
Mhm.
w- which is what's your definition of success? I feel like it's different for everyone.
It
That's
is.
why we like to ask that question.
Yeah, well, success for me is to have the feeling of accomplishment, fulfillment,
Mhm,
and being happy. If I feel that I've achieved something, accomplished something, and what I accomplished makes me feel, fulfilled. You're
mhm,
like, yeah, that was awesome. That was not that I won, but that I reached the goal, that fulfillment. I've achieved something. I feel good, and it makes me happy.
mhm.
If you could feel that in all areas of your life, you're successful. And that's my definition of success. As
Yeah.
it becomes a personal relationship, being a parent, business owner, mentor, athlete.
Mhm.
If I can feel like I've accomplished something and I feel fulfilled and happy, I'm successful.
Awesome.
That's my
Well, yeah.
definition of it.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's different for everyone, and I feel like it's
Yeah,
always right. So that's why I like to ask that. Um, John, thank you so much. Thanks for all the information,
yeah,
all the insights that I had, and I'm sure that a lot of the listeners in the audience are gonna have as well when they are listening to. I really
yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to do that and sharing a little bit of your knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me, Igor. I really appreciate it. And for anybody that needs anything, you can reach me at johndiggs.com. I'm here to help you grow and be the best you can be. So thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate you. And God bless. Good luck, huh?
Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.